One of the benefits of parks, especially well-developed and well-maintained parks, is that they actually improve uh, and increase the property values adjacent to them in in ratio to how close they are to that park. So that helps the folks that own that property, and also helps the city because it brings in additional tax revenue. Um, yeah, San Angelo has, for the size of our community, we have a comparable number of parks. But if you take the total number of developed acreage that we have, we don't really compare as well to other cities of our size, because a lot of our parks are pretty small in size. And you get out some of these neighborhoods, some of those parks haven't seen any renovation in 30, 40 years. We have some playground equipment that's 50, 60 years old still in our inventory. And it's time that those parks get renovated. Every park, every improvement on a park has a lifespan. This pavilion is going to last a long time. It's going to last at least 50, 70, 100 years, maybe longer, if depending on how well it's maintained. This playground is going to last 15 to 20 years, so it's going to have to be replaced. So it doesn't end there.
Right.
With our renovation schedule, we go through the whole schedule. It starts again. You don't ever stop. It's always ongoing. It's always changing. As far as upcoming projects, particularly under parks, we have the Producers Park, which is basically a 23-acre park on the northeast side of town. It'll be the first public park in that area of the town, basically bordered north of Houston Hart, Highway 67, north of Highway 67, and east of about, I guess that would be Blum Street. Be the first park in that area. That park will include basically neighborhood park elements: playground, pavilion, restrooms, some practice sporting fields, some walking trails, and some picnic areas. Included with that project is also the renovation of Rio Vista Park in the south part of town, which is next to the Boys and Girls Club Southside and our Southside Recreation Center. That'll be a complete neighborhood park renovation with the same elements: playground, walking trails, pavilion, perhaps some restrooms, I think, yes, and some general park improvements. Also up and coming, not a 4B half-cent sales tax project, is the finish out inside the Ralph Chase State Office Complex. There's about 10,000 square feet inside. There's no office space built at all. We hope to finish that out with brand new offices so that we can lease them to the state. They have requested that, and we're doing that such that the rental fees will pay for that renovation. Other projects which are of interest that are being conceptualized and considered right now but are not approved or funded yet, at the Fairmount Cemetery. The Fairmount Cemetery has about 600 spaces left to sell, so we have at least about 15 years of active selling, but we know there's some point in the future that we're going to run out of spaces to sell, and we're going to have to make a transition of the cemetery being less active and more in a maintenance role. The Friends of Fairmount is a recent public group that has started that wants to work towards some long-term improvements at the cemetery, and this includes realigning the current entrance from where it is now to a different entrance, creating some columbarium, and the columbarium is essentially a place where folks can put the ashen remains in a niche, is what we call them. They plan on, I'm hoping to build some columbarium in different locations at the cemetery, which would help with revenue and also improve the aesthetics of the cemetery. They also want to help bring in a new irrigation system to the cemetery, new planting, and as well as some other improvements. Another significant project, the Fort Concho, we hope to take Barracks 1, which is the first building that's there next to Oak Street, the first big long building, and really upgrade that into a really nice state-of-the-art visitor center and museum. The water lily collection, there's still some improvements we'd like to see there, with an additional basin constructed and some better public access. There are some additional restrooms we'd like to construct at some of the parks, at Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park, Unidad Park, and Glenmore Park. We'd like to include some additional parking at the near the senior centers. One project which I'd really like to see happen in the next near future, and I believe has some success of happening through the stormwater projects, is the Red Arroyo Trail. There's a possibility of creating about 3 miles of trails along the Red Arroyo and one of the tributaries that goes off towards the southwest to connect some of the neighborhoods and connect the trail to some of the major streets, which would be a great asset for recreation and fitness. Another project that we'd like to consider is the relocation of the Nature Center, perhaps between property that we've acquired between 19th Street and 29th Street on the north side of town. Civic event venues we'd like to see improved are the auditorium and the river stage. There's many other neighborhood parks that need to be renovated either through CDBG funds or half-cent sales tax. And there are also locations in the city that don't really have a park in their neighborhoods. Therefore, there are portions of the city that aren't serviced yet with park services. And then another significant project we're working towards is the possible consolidation of some of the sports leagues, which could include, now that we've finished the Texas Bank Sports Complex, that complex, I forgot to mention, is going to be home to the Southern Little League, the Girls Fast Pitch Association, softball, and the Adults Softball League. With the relocation of the Girls Fast Pitch Association, that frees up 29th Street complex. At this point, we plan on using those existing fields for practice fields. We always need practice fields. But that does give us the possibility, the opportunity to take that property, renovate it, and make it the home to Lakeview Little League and to Northern Little League. Northern Little League right now is housed in a very confined complex off Junius, 19th Street. Lakeview Little League is also on a small area, which is actually school district property. If we relocate both of those leagues to a renovated complex at 29th Street, we could stop at our cost the maintenance at Lakeview Little League, which would save us money, and then convert the existing complex on Junius Street, the Northern League, to essentially practice. There's one field that would have to stay as a tournament field, but the majority of it could be converted to practice fields. So we wouldn't lose anything. We could still, if we work out with the school district, be able to use Lakeview fields for practice. So we don't really lose anything, but we can consolidate our efforts at one facility in terms of extensive maintenance that we provide to the sports complex. So those are some of the things that we've done and some of the things that we're looking at doing.